Hey there, welcome back to Relationship Talks. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more spicy stories. Now, let's get into today's story video. Cheat on me with my student, steal from me, and then slander my reputation. Get ready to lose your job, future, and face jail time. Hello and welcome. This story is interesting, so watch till end. Preface. In other words, I was head over heels in love with my ex-girlfriend for 4 years. She's really beautiful and kind, and I adore her. She loved being the center of attention, and I did all I could to deliver it to her. Winter was the name I gave her, and she had a stupid nickname for me that I will not share with you. Overall, I was happy with the results. Aside from the fact that my grandparents left me a substantial inheritance, I made far more money than she did. The bulk of the stuff in her apartment belonged to me. Despite the fact that she resided in her own apartment, we live in a highly conservative country where love-in relationships are frowned upon. Among other things, she drove my car and used my laptop, which I provided. I had a lousy 32 LCD television, but she bought a 60 Bravia and then defaulted on the payments, forcing me to pay for it out of my own pocket. This was not a one-time occurrence, though, since she had a large amount of merchandise for which I was responsible. I admit that I was a doormat, blissfully naive of all the warning signs that were all around me. In any case, I happened to be at her place one day and borrowed her laptop in order to check my email. I couldn't remember her Wi-Fi password. She logged into her Gmail account, and just as I was about to check out, a Hangouts notification popped up on my screen, reading, "God knows how much I like the shape of your body. 7. The same park as before. It's late at night at my residence. Make sure to wear the garment that my name bought for you so that I may shred it to pieces." She probably deleted it since there were no further messages on that discussion head at the time she did. It was one of my classmates who had done it. WSS, a first-year student in my class who is just 18 years old, will serve as our mascot. I can't put into words what I was going through at the moment. An emotional roller coaster had just passed me by. I hurled her laptop against the wall and bolted from her flat. But I made the mistake of failing to gather any evidence, and they were scheduled to meet the next day, so I had a good chance of catching them red-handed. The following day, when I arrived to the location where they were meant to meet, I discovered them kissing in my car. I knock on the glass, ask for my keys, and tell her not to disturb me any more in the future. She was crying and apologizing profusely. When I pleaded with WSS to take her home, he just bolted like his tail was on fire, leaving me speechless. I'll never forget the looks on their faces, the sudden pallor and the look of surprise on their cheeks. WSS had also forgotten to take his phone out of my car. Meanwhile, I'm receiving texts from her apologizing for her actions. After that, I block her. My r/relationships post did not include this information, since I spent the next 2 days drinking myself to oblivion, and they hung over me left a lot of foggy details in the post. So I decided to leave it out. I attempted to get in touch with my best friend, but he was away on business, and I didn't want to disturb him while he was away. The only thing I did for 2 days was drink, puke, sleep, eat, and repeat. My senses returned 2 days later, and I went through my financial accounts before terminating our joint account with him. As a result, she pulled almost all of the money out of the account, of which 3/4 was mine. The texts and phone calls continued to come in while I was out drinking, but I lost control and cracked my phone's screen, rendering it completely useless. So I pulled out my backup phone and was greeted by a swarm of notifications. I was accused of being an emotionally manipulative, two-faced jerk who sleeps with his students after she disclosed my infidelity to her on Facebook. We had a large number of mutual friends, the most of whom had blocked me. Someone even formed a WhatsApp group in which they abused me verbally and spoke hurtful things about me. She even went so far as to turn my sister against me. In order to marry a woman half his age, our father abandoned our mother. Our mother got depressed and died after a few years. As a consequence, she was very sensitive to infidelity. My sister resented me because she was a superb manipulator, and she knew just how to make her sister dislike me. All of the previous wounds were being reopened by the ex. She knew about our father. The things she said were horrific and made up like chip off the old block, and he's precisely like your father, among other horrible things. She got really depressed as a consequence of this, and some of her friends were on my ex's side of the story as well. As a consequence of this, our relationship is almost certainly doomed for the foreseeable future. Throughout the university, word of exes, Facebook posts spread like wildfire. They labeled a shy, socially awkward young lady as my mistress and made fun of her for it. To be quite honest, I never even noticed her before. The reason for awakening finally, the time has arrived that everyone has been looking forward to. She was effective in destroying my reputation and goodwill in my neighborhood, as well as among my coworkers and friends. My current position is under jeopardy. She turned my sister, the only other member of my family, against me. I then showed her the apologetic texts that my ex had sent me, and she expressed her regret to me, acknowledging that I was the one who had been wronged, not her. Several thoughtful Redditors suggested that I speak with an attorney, which I did. As a result, the next day when I returned to work after a few days off, I bumped into W and his father again. I was able to keep the impulse to hit him at bay for a while. He expressed regret and promised to do anything he could to prevent him from dropping out of college. I approached him and asked if he would be ready to testify in my favor, which he readily agreed to. I did tell him that I would be unable to assist him since the situation was above my capabilities. As evidence of his cheating on me, he handed me screenshots of his discussions with his ex-girlfriend, demonstrating that she was the one who was cheating on me rather than the other way around. And he showed me screenshots of his conversations with his ex-girlfriend, demonstrating that it was she who was cheating on me and not the other way around. He said he would still testify in my favor, and he showed me screenshots of his conversations with his ex-girlfriend, demonstrating that it was she who was cheating on me and not the other way around. Sections 499, defamation, 500, and 504, defamation, of the Indian Penal Code were the subject of complaints I filed with the court, intentional insult with intent to provoke breach of the peace. In all honesty, the day of the hearing was the best day of my life since the end of my relationship, and I was overcome with joy. The court ordered her to be punished in addition to being chastised for making multiple nasty words about me and becoming enraged. A settlement outside of court was proposed by her attorney, which I gently denied, pointing out that she had undoubtedly fouled up more than just my life by doing so. It would have been significantly less costly, and I would have earned a little more money as a consequence, but she got the shaft. Despite the uproar, they were unable to cancel my contract due to the fact that it was for 5 years in duration. Instead, I was sent to a different university. However, I will have to travel a little more than I would want in order to earn the same amount of money and have the same benefits. She, on the other hand, is covered from head to toe with feces and waste material. In response to my reporting her to authorities, her employment as a librarian at the institution where I worked, she had a bachelor's degree in library science, was terminated. One of the reasons for this is that she was philandering with a student, and as a consequence, her prospects of finding work in the future have been diminished. Furthermore, she might face jail time under Sections 500 and 504, which could result in up to 2 years in prison, a fine, or a combination of the two punishments, and Indian jails, sheesh. She is, however, entitled to post a bond in lieu of imprisonment. W has been expelled from the club for violating the club's rules. The money she stole would be used to pay for her legal counsel, which would be paid for by the government. It was my closest buddy that went to her residence and returned my belongings to me. Among other things, the items included a futon, a refrigerator, an air conditioner, a laptop, various pricey gadgets, and a piece of jewelry. However, since the television is registered in her name, she would be able to retain it, because attorneys aren't cheap. She'd almost certainly have to sell the business in order to make ends meet. She also does not have a job and does not have access to financial resources. Given the fact that this is India, it should come as no surprise that the people who live here are deeply rooted in their cultures and beliefs. When she grows up, she will have to confront her parents, who are still persuaded that she is a virgin, about her